let's dive in. So let's get into the theme for summer. And the card is Two of Swords reverse. So I thought this was interesting because for those of you, if you've been following me for a while or have um, been a part of any of my readings, I typically, I don't intentionally pull reversals. So when a reversal comes up, it is significant. So what does this mean when it comes to a reversal for the overall theme of summer? Well, one of the first things is in the upright position, the Two of Swords is all about like being indecisive. But in reverse, it's like, this is an opportunity to look at decisions that you're not making, or sometimes like the choices and things that you're making, they're not actually working out the way that you wanted them to. So you might be sitting back like, why is this happening? Why, like, things aren't going the way that I planned? Why are things not working in my favor? And so the opportunity here, especially when it comes to the overall theme, is it's actually time to pay attention to where you're how you're sourcing your decisions. Are you basing them off of emotions and like what people think, like based on what other people think or what you think other people need? Are you actually tuning in? And there's a difference between your emotions and your intuition. And if you don't know the difference, I have a whole podcast on it. At least, yeah, I have a podcast on that, and you can check that out. The link is in my bio. So with this, how are you sourcing your decisions? Are you basing your choices off of what you feel like you have to do, or sourcing it off of what is actually true for you? What you think you know versus what is true for you is also different. So this theme, I talked about illumination, and this is already starting. This is already starting because of the full moon that's happening today if you're watching this live. And even if you're watching this a couple days after the 14th of June, you're still in that full moon energy. And this is going to carry you into the summer solstice. So when it comes to decisions, if things are not going well and the choices that you've been making, you have to look at where you're sourcing them from. Is it based off your ego? Is it based off of emotions? Is it based off of trying to please other people? Is it based off of like, if you are not the factor, then it's time to shift that. If you're trying to keep up appearances, then it's time to reevaluate why you're trying to do that. So this is about like stepping back a little bit. And the goal between now and by the end of the summer is to shift your perspective and turn this back around, really to the point of where you take the blindfold off. But there's going to be a lot more of this happening, right? You don't want to be in a point where things are just not clear and you're just you're just like, okay, I don't know which way to turn. By the end of the season, the goal is to have that clarity. That's where we want to get. But right now, there's always an opportunity in this. And you see what's really sticking out is the moon that's happening right here. So again, I mentioned the moon definitely plays a role in why this card is the theme. All right. So early summer. So again, we have a common theme here. I mentioned the moon. The moon does not want to be ignored. So we have the moon card that came up, and then we have the Eight of Swords. So here we go again. We have the overall theme is Two of Swords reverse, and we have the Eight of Swords here in early summer. Wherever Sagittarius is in your chart, then it's going to be even more. There's going to be even more illumination, even more wherever that area is in your life. It's going to highlight even more. So when it comes to the moon, that is all about. That's all about the shadow self. That's all about the unconscious aspect of your mind. Okay, and The swords, the suit of swords is the air element, and it is all about the mental plane. It's all about the mind. So when you pair the moon with the swords suit, you have this, what's showing up is the unconscious mind. And listen, just, let's look at what's going on in these cards. Okay? Nobody likes getting this card. Nobody likes seeing this card. Okay. Nobody wants to see it, but there's a reason why it's here. And it's because this is all of your unconscious stuff coming to surface and being illuminated. Like I mentioned, the full moon is all about illumination. The sun is about illumination, and the season of summer is about the maximum capacity of that. So it's like shining bright on all the things, and it's tapping in. And I'm sure because it's right now, the moon is in Sagittarius, it's highlighting these things even more about your unconscious mind. And these things that are either, and some things you are consciously aware of, some things you are not. And these things are holding you back. They're literally keeping you bound, just like in this card. This is what you're going to be dealing with in early summer. And that's already starting. That is starting today. Right? Because I mentioned the full moon, today's moon, is carrying you into next week. Because we are in this transition. We are transitioning from spring to summer. So again, use this as an opportunity to look at the areas. If you've been feeling stuck, you've been feeling like, woe is me. If you're in victim mode, if you are at a point where you're frustrated, you're just like, I don't understand why things just are not working the way I need them to work, not happening, or why is my life the way it is right now? Like, you have to stop looking externally. You have to go within. That is the assignment. Okay? You have to go within. It's all about introspection. It's all about the internal work. So instead of looking at everything that is outside of you and looking at whether you're trying to blame somebody else, and even if, and there might be other people to blame, right? But it's not about blaming. It's about, what is your role? What role are you playing in keeping yourself bound or keeping yourself in the same situation? What is your role in that? And what can you do to change it? Because at the end of the day, you can't always change the things that are you can't change things that you can't control. The one thing you can control is your mind, which is about the air suit, right? And that's the theme. You can control your mind. You can control what you're focusing on. You can control, and you can change what you can control, right? Because sometimes you feel out of control. You might be feeling like, I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to stop this train that's just like going 100 miles per hour. So you have to look at what is driving the train. And most likely it is something within the unconscious aspect of yourself. The thing that you're either not paying attention to, you're avoiding, or you're so distracted with the external stuff that you are not tuning into yourself enough to know, to receive those insights. That is what's happening early summer. It's a doozy, y'all. It's a doozy. But there's always opportunity in that. So let's go into Midsummer. Midsummer is the 8 of Wands. So the Wands is this element of fire. And you see here, like, if you just look at the card, you just see, it just looks like a bunch of sticks, right? Just like somebody's throwing a bunch of sticks, right? But this kind of represents swift movement. And what's interesting here, so midsummer is when summer is at its peak, right? It is like the peak of summer. It's usually the hottest time of summer, the hottest time of the year if you're in the northern hemisphere. And if you're not, let me know where you're at in the world. Um, it's peak season. So, and we're operating with the element of fire. So this is double fire right now because summer is the element of fire, and then this card, the wand suit represents the element of fire. So we have double fire going on, and that is a lot of heat. That is a lot of intensity, and it can go very, very hot. It can get very hot very fast. The question is, can you handle the heat, my friend? All the stuff, listen, all the stuff that's coming out in the early summer, that is definitely going to influence how this level of intensity is going to work for you. Is it going to work in your favor? Are you going to ride the wave and roll with it, or are you going to be going against the grain? Is it going to blow up in your face? Okay, the spectrum here is like tea light candle to forest fire. Okay, if we want to have a spectrum for like the intensity of the heat and like how fast things can go. What is gauging this? How can you gauge this? It goes back to that unconscious aspect of yourself, your intuition, the things that are coming up for you right now and in the early summer, things that maybe you weren't dealing with, or things that you're afraid to kind of like take things to that next level or let certain things go. That's going to play a role in this. So for example, if you're in a relationship right now and you've been holding on to this relationship and you're afraid to let go of this relationship for whatever reason, and you know that what's true for you is that this relationship is actually not in your best interest anymore, but you're holding on to it for fear of change or whatever it is, then there's a possibility that this shit's going to blow up in your face midsummer. Okay, there's a possibility. If you're in this job that you hate, and you're not doing the work right now to start looking for another job, or take things in another direction, or you've been kind of, or you're not saving your money to prepare for to prepare for the things you need to be prepared for, it's very likely that something's going to hit the fan midsummer. All right, so it's all about high level of intensity, but you can gauge this right now, and you can ground this energy by tuning into what is true for you now. That is the overall theme. When it comes to this overall theme, the what I want you to keep in mind, and the question that I want you to continuously ask yourself throughout this season is, what is true for me now? What is true for me now? Not what do I think I want? No, not what is somebody else telling me to do, or what society thinks I need. Like, what is true for me? How do I truly feel about this, and what does this mean for me? You have to tune within yourself. And it's very easy to get distracted in the summer season because there's so much going on externally. So keep that in mind. Let's go into late summer. Now, late summer, we have the Queen of Swords. So if you notice, there's a lot of swords going on in this summer season. Swords, again, is air. It's about the mind. But there's a progression here, right? So with the theme, we have the Two of Swords reversed. This person is blindfolded. All right. Then we have in early summer, more blindfolds, right? In the beginning of the summer, still bound. But look what happens here. Look at what happens. We have the Queen of Swords. Blindfold is gone. The swords, she has one sword, she's holding it, she's in control of it, and she is in control, and she is in a state of governing what she wants and desires. But this is the other thing that's coming up is truth and communication. So speaking your truth, and that question of what is true for you now, this is about communication. Because here's the thing, when it comes to late summer, once you go through all this stuff, and once you come out of this whirlwind, once you come out of this, and let me know what happens. Are you going to get dragged? Are you about to be, I don't know. Okay. Whatever happens there is when you come out of that whirlwind, the end goal here, by the time late summer comes around, it's like you need to start questioning, do you even know how to articulate what you want? Do you know how to articulate what you need? Are you the communication barrier? Are you frustrated? Have you been frustrated the whole summer because you're saying what you want, but you're actually not truly communicating those things in a way that the universe can appropriately receive it, or that other people can understand it, because you have not answered that question and continuously evaluated that question and what is true for you, what is true for you now. So you see how this all comes together. She's not sitting in the clouds, but she's up so high on a throne that she's almost like in the clouds, if that makes sense. And so the clouds, and depending on the deck, and I'm using Radiant Rider-Waite, so how the Queen of Swords is depicted differently depending on the deck. But it does kind of represent, the clouds do represent this level of elevation or ascension, especially when it comes to the position that she holds. So I hope that answered your question. Because look at the theme, look at where this person's at right here. And you want to reach this level of ascension. You want to grow. You want to get to a point where you are elevating yourself. So just keep that in mind, right? And late summer energy, it's time to start really questioning, do you even know what you want? Are you communicating clearly with yourself? And this is why I say, like, sometimes, affirmations, your affirmations and stuff, the reason why they're probably not working is because the energy behind the words that you're saying are not in alignment. And that's usually what it is. You're saying a bunch of words, but the energy behind the words are totally out of order. I want you to think about that, because words without the energy behind it, it's pointless. You're just saying stuff. If you don't believe it, just throw it in the trash then. And the thing is, you know that phrase, like, talk is cheap, right? It depends on the energy that's behind it. If you don't believe it, and at the end of the day, you're going to know what's true for you. You're going to know. A part of you is going to know, whether you're conscious about it or not. And you have the opportunity to unpack that during this full moon and into the early summer, which we covered earlier. So when it comes to this, by the time you get to the end of summer, you should really be getting clear, or even have a wake-up call of, like, okay, what's true for me now is I'm not actually sure what I want, and I need to just take some time to, like, unpack that. Or I've gone through all this stuff, and now I'm actually much clearer on what I want, and I know what I want, and I know how to articulate that. I know I have improved the that internal communication with myself to the point where now I can speak clearly with intention for what I want. And now I can speak for a more grounded, from a more grounded space of truth. And I mentioned earlier that it's like, where are you basing your decisions? Are you stemming it out? Are you basing it out of ego, out of just emotions, trying to please other people? Or is it based off of your own truth? What's true for you now? What you need on a spiritual level, on like what your intuition's guiding you to do, what you actually need. Not what you think you need, what you truly need.